So today I'll start the discussion on these characters and hard methods. First we discuss how to calculate the characters and hard measures corresponding to the connected compact Lie groups, and of course we'll also discuss the similar thing for the non-compact group, specifically for the Lorentz group, but that will need a different kind of understanding, and so that will be after in this discussion. So we are interested in both abelian as well as non-abelian Lie groups. And just to recall, abelian are basically the commutator algebra, and the non-abelian when the generators do not commute. Okay, for example, like SU2, SU3, these are non-abelian Lie groups, and the U1 is one of the example, or SO2, they are basically abelian groups. Now, I've elaborated in detail how to compute this thing such that will be really helpful for you to follow, because there is I didn't find any suitable literature where all the details about these characters and all those things are developed uh, in a unique way. So this may be very useful for you guys. So for abelian group U1, when we calculate the characters, we basically calculate the characters for the U0 representation, right? And we are talking about the wild characters as we have discussed earlier, the definition of the wild character and so on. So for a field of having charge Q, the U1 character is simply the chi written as Z to the power Q. So here Z is a complex number which is basically unimodular. Okay, and the Haar measure is basically defined on this torus. So maximal torus of U1 is simply the unit circle. The group space integral is equivalent to the integral over theta from theta to 2 pi. Okay, so now we can parameterize the Z in unit radius circle like it for I theta, and so this turns into a contour integral over C. So thus the U1 Haar measure can be written in this following from 0 to 2 pi, which is equivalent to 1 by 2 pi I is a closed integral modulus of z equal to 1 over this circle and dz by z. Okay. And so this is this you represent it as d mu 1 is in this following form. Okay. And this is the Haar measure of this thing. So now the thing is a bit complicated once you look for the similar things like characters and the Haar measures for the non-abelian groups. So let's start with SUN. So for the SUN, the wild character formula is given in this following form. So M is written as basically diagonal epsilon 1 to epsilon 2 to up to epsilon n, and for a particular irreducible representation of SUN, and within constant product of all the EAs meant to be identity. Okay, so you can see this chi of ME. M is the irreducible representation. The character of the irreducible representation is given by this right hand side factor, and these are two determinant, one numerator in the another in the determinant in the denominator, right? So now here this R1, R2, Rn minus 1 all are basically integers, and such that they are they satisfy like R1 greater than R2 greater than R3 and so on. So Rn minus 1 greater than 0. And these R1 to Rn minus 1, all these can be derived from this given Dynkin levels for a particular representation. We know for a given irreducible representation, Dynkin levels are unique. So from there we can derive that thing. So now we can write the numerator in much more expanded form, which is just nothing but the determinant. So it's like epsilon 1 to the power R1, epsilon 1 to the power R2, so on, and till epsilon 1 to the power 0. And then in terms of the epsilon 2, and so on, it will continue to the epsilon n. So if you say SUN, then you have some epsilon n. But you can understand that all the epsilons are not independent because they satisfy the product of the epsilon a, where a equal to 1 to n equal to 1. So that will serve as a constant. So one of the epsilons we can represent with respect to the others as well. Okay. So now this is a flow chart. So this flow chart may be more useful while talk about the more things, but this will give you for the connected compact group if you look at, and then you can see that how this mapping and all those things actually work on, and how to get back in this character for this thing. But we'll revisit this part later when we complete the non-compact group representation also, and in simultaneous and together we'll have some discussion on this flowchart. Okay. So now the denominator part is called the Van der Waals determinant, which is given in this following form. Now you can see there is no epsilon 1 to the power n minus 1. So there is no like R1, R2 dependence here. So here the n minus 1, n minus 2 all are known because we know with which SUN we are working on. So in that sense, the denominator is quite known function of epsilon, which can be written in this particular form also. And these epsilons are basically nothing but the coordinates of the maximal torus of SUN, which you have whose maximal torus is Tn minus 1, which you can write down in terms of the product of this E1 cross E1 cross E1 and n minus 1 for this, right? So, and this Tn minus 1 can be written in terms of diagonal matrix form, where the diagonal entries are e to the power I theta 1, e to the power I theta 2 minus theta 1, and so on. And this is the n by n matrix. Now here theta is at the parameters, the points on the torus, right? Now the coordinates of these points on the torus can be parameterized in terms of the complex variable z. So here the z equal to the power I, zi equal to the power I theta I, and epsilons are function of z. So you can write down this way, like epsilons are function of z1, z2 up to zn minus 1. And because they satisfy this criteria, so similarly we get a relationship among the all zi's as well. Now that thing is basically we need to rewrite the whole thing in terms of the z, because we have to perform at the end of the day some unit contour integral over the unit circle of these zi's, right? So it's better to write down all the epsilons in terms of z, such that when we compute the characters which are function of epsilons, we can translate them in terms of zi's. So now the question is how to make this translation. So for that we need to take the help of this weight tree corresponding to the lowest dimensional fundamental representation. Okay, and we have to remember here that there's a misleading comment in some places that okay, fundamental representation is the lowest dimensional representation, and and it makes appears that for any given group there's only one fundamental representation, but that's not certainly true for any given group. If you calculate the rank of that group, okay, so you get that many fundamental representation, but out of those fundamental representation there will be one lowest dimensional representation. Okay, so that's why you call them a lowest dimensional fundamental representation, LDF. So now the lowest dimensional fundamental representation for SUN, if you look at the Dynkin level, it is nothing but the 1 comma 0 comma 0 up to this 0 n minus 1 number 0, right? Because its rank is n minus 1, so that's why that many entries will be there. So now, if you look at the Cartan matrix of SUN, which you can actually derive from the Dynkin diagram of this SUN, which is just one blob, and then there's another blob, and then another blob, and so on. So that gives you a very simplified Cartan matrix, which is n minus 1 by n minus 1 for SUN. So now, in this context, you can consider the first row to be the alpha 1, second row to the alpha 2. In the Dynkin basis, they are the roots. Okay. So now what you do, you define this L1 to be this, the fundamental thing, and then you define the L2 to be L1 minus alpha 1, and then Lk is basically Lk minus 1 minus alpha k minus 1. So successively you just subtract those alpha i's from the corresponding that previous LIs, right? And this way you can reach up to this Ln, where you exhaust all this alpha n minus 1, and you get this structure. So you can, in this way you can construct a weight tree starting from the lowest dimensional fundamental representation of SUN using the help of roots vectors in the Dynkin basis. Okay, so once you do that, then in the n minus 1 tuple Li is denoted by Li1, Li2. This is not the power, this is the position actually being indicated, like Li1, Li2, Li3, and so on, Lin minus 1. Now, the general formula for epsilon A can be written as epsilon I equal to Z1 to the power Li1 times Z2 to the power Li2, and so on up to Zn minus 1 Lin minus 1, and which enables us to write it down like epsilon 1 equal to Z1 1, Z2 to the power 0, because these elements are basically 1 0 0 0 0, so this will be like Z1, and this will be like the minus 1 1 0 0, because if you look into the epsilon 2, and this will be the element, right, for L2 minus 1 1 0 0. So that's what they appears to be like this, and in this way you get the relation or all the epsilon i's with the z's. Now to calculate the the numerator, you have to calculate the r, right? So we know the epsilon in terms of z. The next task is to calculate the r. Okay, so let's see how to calculate those ri's. So a particular representation of a dimension D can be uniquely identified by its Dynkin level. Okay, as I was telling, that for any universal representation can be uniquely represented by a Dynkin level. And let's consider the Dynkin level basically on A1, A2 up to n minus 1. It is represented by the Young diagram consisting of n minus 1 number of rows with boxes. Okay. To find the Ris, we first need to obtain the lambda i's, which can be obtained as solution of the following equations in terms of the Dynkin level and the fundamental weight tree of the lowest dimensional fundamental representation. So this A1, A2 up to this an minus 1 is nothing but your lambda 1 plus the first element of the weight tree plus lambda 2 times the second element of the weight tree, and so on. So now once you revert this equation, so you get lambdas in terms of the a's. The reason is basically the a's are known to us. Why? Because we know which is the representation we are going to work with. Once we know that, we know that they are unique Dynkin level, and from there we can extract the ai's, right? So then using those 2.16 equation, we can get the lambdas i's. So that means basically we can reconstruct the lambda vector. And if we have this relation R is basically lambda plus rho, where rho I is equal to n minus I. And for SUN, this is rho construction of the rho I is pretty trivial and unique. So we know the lambdas for a given representation, we know rho for given SUN, so you can calculate the R. Since lambda n equal to 0, so rho n equal to n minus n equal to 0, therefore Rn equal to 0. Okay, and this way we can compute the all Ri's, and we can put it back in the numerator, and we can compute the the character function. Okay, so another way of looking into this, lambdas in terms of the Young diagram is like if you have some arbitrary Young diagram like this, and then if you have for first row you have k number of boxes, horizontal boxes, then the lambda 1 is k. If this is k minus 1 number of boxes, this is k minus 1, and so on. And then lambda n, in the last row there is no box, so this is like lambda n equal to 0. And this is related with the fact that for SUN, if you have put n number of vertical boxes, okay, and then that's basically identity, so you remove that line. So only non-trivial structure for you will achieve whenever there's a n at most n minus 1 number of vertical boxes. So for SUN, the lambda n equal to always 0. So now we can calculate the Haar measure, which is given for du SUN as basically twice pi I to the power n minus 1 n factor, which is a normalizing factor, and then the product of L equal to 1 to n minus 1, because that means Zi is there. So for each Zi you have this unit radius, you can think of integral, okay, and this is TZL by ZL delta epsilon inverse. So this delta epsilon is the Van Diamond determinant, and that we have talk about this one, okay. And now you can see the epsilon in terms of Z, and then what to calculate delta epsilon inverse. So you replace all the epsilon by its epsilon inverse, so you basically calculate the delta epsilon inverse. Okay, so now once we have that, so you can calculate the Haar measure. And after getting the Haar measure, now you can whenever you use the the character orthonormality equation, and from there you can project out different invariants and so on, and that will be the ultimate goal for specific purpose. Now let me show you some example where you can calculate this thing for SU2. So SU2, the Haar measure, if you have to calculate, then for SU2 rank is 1. So we can obtain epsilon 1 equal to Z1, epsilon 2 equal to Z1 inverse, right? So the Van Diamond determinant for this case is basically epsilon 1 to the power 1, epsilon 1 to the power 0, epsilon 2 to the power 1, epsilon 2 to the power 0. So from there you get this thing, you put it back in terms of Z, you get this Z1 minus 1 by Z1. And you calculate the Haar measure d mu of SU2 in this particular form, you put it back there, you use this 2.19 equation, and then you get this structure. So now if I am to calculate the characters for this representation, how do you do that? So for singlet representation, which is basically the Dynkin level is 0, and there's a 2 vertical boxes, so 1, so the lambda 1 equal to 1 comma 1. Okay, so you can solve those equations as I told you, 2.16, or if you look into the Young diagram, you know the Young diagram already, then the number of boxes in the first row is 1, so that is lambda 1 equal to 1. Number of boxes in the second row is basically 1, so that's 1, so lambda is 1 comma 1. So if you calculate that, and rho equal to n minus 1, so it's 2 minus 1 equal to 1, 2 minus 2 equal to 0, so this is 1 comma 0. So r equal to lambda plus rho. This is 2 component wise, it will be added up. So 2 comma 1. So chi will be epsilon square comma epsilon determinant, and the epsilon comma 1 is the Van Diamond determinant what we have calculated here. Once you put it back and then translate in terms of z, you get 1, and that's quite obvious, right? For the singlet representation, the character will be always 1. It's not a function of any torus coordinate, and that's what we can explicitly check here. So now, for the anti-fundamental representation, if you or the fundamental representation, if you consider, which is equivalent representation for SU2, and then it's like defined as a single box, and the Dynkin level is basically 1. So the lambda vector is 1 comma 0, and the rho, similarly rho is for SU2 will be always the same 1 comma 0. It is not going to change with respect to the representation. It is very much fixed by the group. Okay, so r will be lambda plus rho equal to 2 comma 0. Similarly, you put it back in this chi, and you write down epsilon 1 plus epsilon 2. You put it back z, and also remember the relation between the epsilon and z is also very much dependent on the group. Not it is not going to vary for representation to representation. So you have to remember the rho and the relation between the epsilon to z. They are actually dependent and the fixed once you specify the group. Okay, other part, the r specifically is going to change for the representation, and that's what the character functions will be different for different representations. So once you put it back here, so you get a z1 plus 1 by z1, and then you can calculate the adjoint representation, which is basically Dynkin level 2, and this is the Young diagram. We calculate the lambda because 2 boxes and there is no boxes, so 2 comma 0. You calculate the r and put it back there, and similar fashion you can calculate this thing. So you can really cross-check all those calculations, and I insist to you that you do it by your own, otherwise you will not be convinced. Now, the interesting fact is basically always we have seen for SUN that fundamental times anti-fundamental is basically adjoint plus singlet. So what is that? Then it should be satisfied by the representation. Then it should be satisfied with respect to the characters as well. That's quite expected. Now, chi f times chi anti-fundamental equal to chi adjoint plus chi singlet. So chi singlet is 1. So chi adjoint is chi f times chi anti-fundamental minus 1. And if you use this formula, then you should cross-check that this 2.24 you can get like this times this, because the fundamental and anti-fundamental characters are the same. So this time this minus 1, you get this 2.24, and that's a nice way to cross-check that thing. Similarly, you can calculate this thing, for quadruple representation and the quintuple representation. Only thing you have to know that what is the Dynkin level. But I must mention that Dynkin level, if you calculate in for SU2, it's quite easy to do that thing. What do? You calculate the j value for this representation. Okay, and for the representation for like 2j plus 1 is, so 2j value you have to calculate that 4 minus 1 is 3. Similarly, 2j here, the 5 minus 1 is 4. So that's twice times the angular momentum is basically your Dynkin level for SU2, and that's a nice way to remember this thing. So if you calculate, then you should be able to rederive the 2.25, 2.26, and those equations, right? And so yeah, so then we can calculate the similar way for the SU3 and the SU4 and so on. So let's see, I'll give you some hint and then we can proceed accordingly. So for SU3, we can use this equation 2.14, and then from there we get the relation among the epsilons, which is basically, now you can see that number of z's are basically independent z parameters are basically complex numbers are basically the rank of that group. So SU3 is basically rank is 2, 3 minus 1. So you have on z1 and z2, but epsilon 1, epsilon 2, epsilon 3, you have 3 epsilon, though they are not really independent to each other. So here you can derive that epsilon 1 equal to z1, epsilon 2 equal to z1 inverse z2, and epsilon 3 equal to z2 inverse. So then in the same way you can calculate the delta E, because now the rank is 2, it will start at 2, 1, 0. So that's why you put it back and then translate in terms of the z variables and put it back this formula, delta and delta epsilon inverse in terms of the z also, you get this 2.28, which is the Haar measure for this SU3. So now for the fundamental representation, it is written as like a 3. Now it will be like unlike the SU2, this will be 2 component Dynkin level, right? Because the rank is 2. So the Dynkin level is 1, 0, and a single box. So that there are no other boxes below that, so it is like 1, 0, 0. Or you can use those earlier equation from the Dynkin level. You can calculate these lambdas. So now your row will be like 2 comma 1 comma 0, because n minus 2, n minus 1, and n minus n minus n minus 1, n minus 2, and n minus 3. So 3 minus 1, 3 minus 2, and 3 minus 3 is 0. So 2 1 0. Therefore you can calculate the r equal to lambda plus rho, which is 3 comma 1 comma 0. You put it back in the numerator. Okay, you get this epsilon 1 plus epsilon 2 plus epsilon 3. So you get these values. Now, unlike the SU2, here the anti-fundamental representation 3 bar is basically 0 comma 1. So this is not the exactly same as the SU2. And the two vertical boxes. So the lambdas are different. Now the one box 1 1, and then no box, so 0. So 1 1 0 r equal to lambda plus rho. This is 3 2 0, because rho is also fixed. Once you specify the group SU3, you put it back there, and from there you calculate the numerator and show the character function for SU3 bar, and you get this thing. It's a nice way to understand that if you interchange Z1 and Z2, then actually you get you can get this 2.30 from this 2.29 and vice versa. So now you can calculate the character for the adjoint representation. Okay, so there is basically this is now the slightly difficult or different rather Young tables. This first row contains two boxes, second row contains only one box, third row no box. So lambda will be 2 comma 1 comma 0. Similarly, you can calculate the r. You put back this r, you calculate the Van determinant. Okay, with respect to this thing which is unique, and then the numerator, which is to the power 4 to 1, because the r values are there. You put it back, you get this character for this adjoint. And same way you can check that if you take this times this minus 1, you should get this thing as we have seen earlier. So I'm not going to discuss that sextet and 27-dimensional representation, because this will follow the same rule. So I may leave it up to you to cross, because the details are given already. So you just walk through these examples. And similarly, you can calculate the SU4 for different representations. I have calculated here, and so this thing, so you should be able to calculate this thing. And the important part is that this method is such a powerful method that doing this, you can simultaneously calculate the Hermezar as well as the Hermezar as well as the character functions for any SUN representations, Euler representations. And for that, you don't need to have any other information starting from the Dimikin level. Only that's much information if you have, and you can compute everything from the scratch. Okay, so this is all about the SUN I wanted to tell you. And the next time I'll look into the SO2n plus 1, and some, if possible, some other groups as well. Thank you.